The internet can totally see you now.
This kid I went to college with was paraplegic because he was in a
Just so you know, you were on the stream. Whatever you're gonna say.
Well, it's a good thing. But he
Good.
was paraplegic and he went to medical school to become a neurosurgeon. So now he uses a standing wheelchair to do his surgeries.
Really?
Yeah, here's a picture of him. But he he can't
That's amazing. Holy shit.
That's him, yeah, Jesse. He was in my major.
Let me see, turn it. He went to med school.
Yeah, Pitt.
Oh my god. It's like he's like strapped into it almost. Has he been paraplegic his whole life?
Since he was 8 months old, his family got in a car accident and he was paralyzed. He was like a little baby.
That is insane. That's going to be on the Today Show. We will link that in the comments below. And won't we, Rouge? The internet has to know what we were watching. Okay. So, last time I tried to finish submit order, but got stuck because time just ran out. So I went ahead and did all the styling for the submit order page, but there's obviously a few bugs on it. So you can see these loading wheels are broken because I haven't implemented the get tax and get shipping methods. But overall, the styling of the page looks much better. Like here's the payment, shipping, measurements, little boxes, your order total, and 2 different calls to action on 2 different parts of the page. So my goal today is to finish up the user interface for submitting an order, and because submit an order has so many different values you have to send to the server, I usually don't write any kind of unit tests for my code, but this time I'm going to, just because I don't want to manually put in every single kind of input a user could add. So the UI obviously restricts a certain type of input that you can send. Like you can't send a string value for a measurement. It has to be 33, 3 and 3 here. So you couldn't send hello. The UI restricts that, but it's possible someone could make a post request on a REST client or something to the server. So anything's possible, and I have to make sure my server doesn't crash because we get some unexpected input. So someone told me one time, Dan told me one time, client side's a plus, server side is a must. So it's a plus if you validate on the client side, so require, for example, measurements to all be numbers, but it's an absolute must that you validate on the server so you know that you're actually getting the number value you're expecting, or return an appropriate error. So we also added this little footer, which is pretty cool. It kind of looks like it's like wrinkled fabric, but it looks a little like reddish. It's kind of a weird, well, I guess maybe that's just, it looks reddish. Rouge, does this look red to you?
What?
Is that?
The black at the bottom?
Yeah, the black at the bottom.
No.
I'll have to review that later, but it looks a little bit red. But it's not supposed to be red, but maybe it looks cool anyways. Okay, so first I'm going to fix these bugs with this infinite spinny wheel. I'm not sure exactly what's causing it because I had this working before, but basically on the confirm step, I decided to fetch the tax and the shipping before the page actually loads. So when the page comes up for confirm, you should see the correct order total. It shouldn't say the subtotal and then asynchronously load the tax and shipping, and then all of a sudden your total jumps up over much. So the idea is that the page shouldn't be showing anything until tax and shipping are ready. So obviously they're not ready here, so there's some kind of a bug happening. And I wanted to fix it before I decided to stream, but I didn't know how long it was going to take. Yeah. The React hot loader I use, which I wrote a blog post about it, it stopped working and I had no idea why. And so I spent the entire day trying to figure out what was wrong with it. And it turns out that you can't combine decorator syntax, which is something that's new, I think not even approved yet in ES6, with React hot loader. They just like don't play well. So it ended up being nothing that I did, just kind of the nature of the open source platform, which I could submit a pull request to update it, but like I said in the blog post, I have no idea how it works, and I just don't really feel like looking into the code because it is mostly boilerplate. It doesn't affect the client experience at all, so I'm not really motivated to do that, but decorators and hot reloading don't work. Decorator syntax is just, that's this little thing up here. This little @ sign. This just wraps a function or a class inside another class or function. So the syntax makes sense. So decorator, like you're adding functionality onto an existing class, you're decorating it. It does the same thing. It's just syntactic sugar for something like this. So I can do something like this instead. Export. If I declare this class confirm order, I could do something like export inherited props confirm order. Right, so if I did this, then I'm basically wrapping confirm order into this class. And then if I wanted to do more, something like this. Not confirm radium, configure. So you see how this like nesting takes place. So I'm actually decorating these components by wrapping them in other classes. So the class that actually gets returned is an instance of configured radium, but it's just much nicer to write syntax that looks like this little @ sign. No, I'm just kidding. This little @ sign above a class. The syntax just looks so much nicer. Okay, so it looks like my page loaded, and then for some reason I got the spinny wheels again. Let's see. Taking a look at the state calls that were made. We request fetch categories, we initialize checkout. There's no reason why this should be loading. I wonder what state they're in. So I'm going to use the React Dev tools to figure out like what the state of these guys is. So you know what? This guy is sitting above this main content, isn't it? Yeah, that's not good. Gotta fix that. So it looks like that this SVG, this little background thing I have, it's actually positioned above the main content of the screen, which I don't want. See, the Z index is 0. So if I went like this, I right-clicked and did inspect. See, it takes me to this SVG element, this big kind of RC logo, which is not good. Like it could interrupt the click events. I think I have pointer events set to none on this SVG, but it could interrupt the actual user interaction. And it's because the Z index here is 0 and the Z index here is also 0. So I'm going to change the Z index to 1. And you can notice if I do the same thing and do inspect, it should, see, and now it doesn't grab the SVG, now it grabs this element which is actually above the SVG. So I believe that code lives in checkout controller. Okay, cool. So here in checkout controller, I have this scroll bar, the scroll container, which is the container that has the actual scroll bar. I'm using a specialized scroll controller that I'm probably going to have to refactor in a little bit because it uses iScroll. And iScroll is just a library that helps to normalize scrolling experiences across different browsers. So like uh, Android Chrome, MacBook Chrome, MacBook Safari, iOS Safari, all the browsers implement scrolling differently. And it can cause like weird things to happen if you just use native scrolling on the browsers. So iScroll is just a way to, it's just a kind of, I think it's kind of hacky, but basically instead of scrolling, it like determines when you scroll, hijacks the scroll, and instead converts it into a CSS transform. So it actually like translates elements upwards and downwards as you scroll. So like you can see, it creates this extra div, which somewhere might be this one right here. Um, and as I scroll, it'll actually change the translation on this div. So you see here, it goes from 0, now it's really slow, negative 114. And it's pretty good on the browser. It just looks a little slow because I'm slow from streaming. But it works pretty well on the browser. But I found that on mobile, like on an actual mobile device, the fling scroll just isn't very good. Like you fling and it just seems sticky, and you have to fling it in just the right way, so it's not the best. So I'm probably going to try to remove that and just see if I can go with the native scroll. It's more of a pain to kind of juggle the two different native browsers, the way that two native browsers scroll. And by two I mean the primary two, Chrome and Safari. But it's just like the scrolling experience is just so important, and if you can't fling to scroll, it's just super frustrating. It makes the page feel sticky and like not good. So what was I doing? Oh yeah. So I want to change the z index. So I think this scroll container is what I want to change the z index on. So let's just see what I got here. Styles that scroll container, and let's just change the z index to 1. That should take care of that problem. I'm not even going to reload the page because I'm just assuming it's going to work. What I'm really concerned about is why these guys are still spinning after they already showed the right calculation amount. I also am not sure how to prevent the browser from reloading, so that's another component of React Hot Load. I have no idea how React Hot Load works, and there's some way to prevent the browser from automatically completely reloading that I thought I did done correctly, but apparently I haven't. Um, some like configuration with Webpack Dev Server. I don't know. Again, I have no idea how that works. Rouge, what are you doing back there?
I'm gonna go shape young minds
You're gonna shape young minds?
and strengthen my one's core.
Alright, I'm gonna shape lots of viewers' minds. You're laughing because it's hyperbole.
I'm so scared of cameras.
The camera loves you. Okay. So, I'm trying to get the React Dev tools to scroll down to my component I have here. But I can probably fix it by the time I even get that to work. What's that component called? Cart summary. Which I should probably rename because I don't just use it in the cart anymore. Now I use it in every component. Well, not every component, but in order confirm and in the cart. Don't interrupt my train of thought. It is crucial to my operation. Oh no. Developer tools needs to be killed. I'm gonna wait and trust that it will come back. Not sure what's destroying my computer right now. Let's see. I got, close that. So I don't have a very powerful computer. I have MacBook Pro 13-inch, something like 8 gigs of RAM, 256 hard drive, and I mean it's fine if you're not doing things like graphics and development, but like I have Illustrator open right now because that's how we do our mock-ups, and Photoshop, and it's a lot for the computer to handle. And it's like a trade-off because it's almost like a paradox. You almost have to buy a Mac to develop. You don't really have any choice. If you ever want to use like Safari to test something or run the iOS simulator, you have to have a Mac. But Macs are so expensive. They're really not, I mean, they're just computers. There's nothing special about it. They shouldn't cost that much money. But they do. And it's mostly just marketing based. For the price of a MacBook Pro, you can get like an amazing PC and run Linux on it. But the downside is that on Linux you don't have things like the iOS simulator. You can't run Safari. You can't run Illustrator or Photoshop. I mean, there's ways you can hack around to make it happen, but when it comes down to it, I need something more reliable than like running a third-party program to run a different program on Linux. And PC, it's impossible to develop on a PC. I am not going to even try. I know there's people that do it. They are likely just much smarter than me because I half the time cannot figure it out. So yeah, that's why my computer is so slow. Okay, so in cart summary, let's see what I got here. So estimated tax, tax node, tax content. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What happened? Something bad happened. Something really bad happened. I'm going to see if I can't maybe just refresh and hope for the best. My goal today was to start testing with Mocha. I'm not a very good, like I don't write unit tests ever. It's not that I think they're useless, it's just that I think they're not useful. Usually I develop like so quickly and things change so much that any time I take the time to write a whole bunch of unit tests, in like a matter of hours, I've changed the way the functionality works so much that the unit tests are invalid. And so then like, yeah, maybe I update them once, but I probably won't update them twice. And then after a while, the unit tests become useless because they don't even test the actual component that I wrote. So there's no point. I get the need to write them if you have like a larger development team, or like you're in a big company, or you're open source, so that you know with confidence if someone submits a pull request to something that it has to pass these tests. You can use continuous integration, that kind of stuff. But for a small development team, I just don't really see much use in writing a lot of tests. I get like test-driven development's a big deal, but if it breaks, just fix it. Like this, for example. What happened here? Warning. Should not be null, boolean, it should be a string, or React class. Check the render method of confirm step. What happened? Did I maybe make some kind of a small typo? Hush. What happened here? Oh, wait. Did I not erase that code that I wrote before? Yeah. So, there you go. That's my own fault. I forgot to or keep the export in there. Good luck. Do you need any help? Do you want to watch the people of YouTube watch you struggle to get out the door with that bike?
Yep. Enjoy it. Do you have any viewers right now?
No. Of course not.
You never know.
Alright. Have fun.
You're not gonna close that door.
I know. That's better. That's Chelsea. She is the other part of the operation. She does sales and marketing for us. Okay, so alright, I fixed that. Now let's give it another whirl. So yeah, Mocha. So the only testing framework that I've worked with, I mean, I've worked with a few. Jester, I think, Mocha. What's the other one I've done? I can't remember. Mocha's the main one. The one that I liked the best, so that's kind of what I'm going to stick with. But like I said, the primary functionality that I want to test, that I want to make sure is correct, is this the actual charging of the user's credit card. So we use Braintree to charge credit cards. And in terms of integration, I think Braintree is a little more difficult than Square. But I was worried about some PCI compliance issues with Square. They didn't require, in their default implementation, a CCV number, and I couldn't find a way to require a CCV number at user input. And I also got a little hesitant because Square is made for in-store transactions, not online. I realize they have an online API, but I just kind of decided to go with Braintree because PayPal's been doing this for a long time. So it's a little bit more of a pain, but in the end, I think it's just a little bit safer. So I think in the next implementation that I do of an e-commerce site, I'll likely use Square. We actually signed a deal for another store that wants to do an e-commerce site, and they either are going to get a Square account or already have a Square account. So, okay, so it looked like for a second there, when I loaded the page, I had the tax and the shipping calculated, but then for some reason I lost it. So the logic I added to actually do that is, I knew it was going to be bad. I knew I shouldn't have done it. So checkout reducer, initialize checkout. So right here, this is the logic I added here to allow that to work. So what I do is here I set the zip to either address.city or checkout.state.getZip. And the reason I did that is because if the user's entered a city and we have it cached in the whatever local storage, then they shouldn't need to enter a zip to show the estimated tax. So now zip code is no longer a zip. I call it city ID. So like city is something like Pittsburgh, PA, whatever, or 15236. It can be whatever. We use whatever value to search for the tax and shipping. So now like the name is weird, and I don't think checkout.state.getZip. I don't think that is correct. Let's see. What I want is the zip code returned from fetchZip. Initialize checkout. Fetch session info. Get zip. So here, I'm calculating the tax and shipping costs. So I think what I'm actually going to do here I'm just going to change this around. So if the user's entered a zip code, they've added that in the cart, they've entered like their general area, but I want the address that's entered in the I want the city ID or the zip code that's entered in the shipping information to supersede that. So, I just do not think this is the right way to do this. What's the hierarchy like? Address or zip? I'm trying to think. So, here's the two experiences that I'm seeing. Let's say a user adds something to their cart. They've never purchased anything from us before. They go to their cart and they want to know how much shipping and tax is, so they enter a zip code. 15206, let's say. And then they go to shipping and they enter a different zip code. So let's say 15232. Now, on the confirm step, you would expect it to show 15232, the address you entered for shipping, to calculate the tax and the shipping. Okay, so now let's go back to cart. Let's say the user's made that purchase and they go back to cart. Or let's say the user made the purchase and then left our site and a couple days later decided to come back. We still have that address and zip code cached in our local storage, unless the user cleared it, obviously. Now, let's say the user goes back to the cart. What value would you expect to show them on the estimated tax and the shipping? Would you expect to show them what's in the... this is in the cart. Would you expect to show them that's what the address is, or what the shipping would cost for the address that they showed before, or the zip that they entered before? Now, what I would assume is that we would show them the address or show them the cost for the shipping info they entered previously. But now let's say the user has entered a new zip code, and now we want to show the new zip code they entered. And this might seem like a trite example, but it's just about hierarchy. So what do we want to show? The address for the shipping, or the address for the zip code? And there's two different scenarios. So if you have a value for shipping, there's one scenario where you have a zip code and a city for shipping, and you want to show the city for zipping. You want to show the city for the shipping cost. Yeah. And there's another scenario, the exact same scenario. You have a zip and a shipping zip, and instead you want to show the zip code because the user just entered that zip code. So trying to maintain when the user enters something new, that's really complicated. It seems kind of useless. Let me think. Okay. Here's what I'll do. So what we'll do is, in the cart order summary page, if we're on the confirm step, we'll always show the shipping address, information for the shipping address. If we're on the cart step, if we have the shipping address, we'll show that. Otherwise, if we have the zip code, we'll show that. So let's just keep that separate. What that involves is here in the checkout reducer, we don't want to do this anymore. And in the fetch session info, we're going to add zip code here to the data that we return. So in the checkout reducer, which is where we handle the state changes, we'll add a parameter zip. And we'll set this to zip. That looks good. Okay. So now, see, this is the other problem. So now, the other thing I added here is when you set an address, I set the value of zip to address.city. So once the user enters a shipping address, we change that value of zip. I'm going to leave that in there because I like that logic. So imagine you go through checkout, you're in the cart, you go through checkout, you're in the cart, you enter a zip code, 15206. You go to the shipping, then you enter a new city you ship to, 15232. When you go back to the cart, you would expect 15232 to be there, not 15206. And that's what this is accomplishing. So when you set an address value, it overrides what's in the zip. When you set a new zip value, it'll override what you put originally in the zip, which was the value from the address city. So that sounds good. I like that. So how this feeds into our original problem. This cart summary is growing to be kind of difficult to handle. It's a pretty big function. It has, or pretty big component. It has a lot of code in here. Well, that's okay. We'll add a prop. Let's call it use shipping city. Okay. So when I'm in the cart summary page or the order summary page, I'm never going to want to fetch the, well, I maybe spoke too soon. So let's see. If not city ID, fetch postal code. Else, if not cart.tax costs. Okay. Okay, right here is where we want to change this. We're going to change this to checkout in zip. So we'll use the zip as a, we'll set the zip as a prop, and we'll change this to shipping city. I like that. And we also want to pull our prop, use shipping city. So let's set a default value. Oh, we already have one. Use to false. Okay, so right here, let's pull this out. Take this away. So we want to fetch the postal code, which finds the zip. So if use shipping city, so if use shipping city is true, we'll calculate the tax and shipping using the shipping city. Otherwise, we're being told to use the zip. If the zip is empty, fetch the postal code. So what this is going to say is, if we haven't entered any information on shipping on the order confirmation page, don't try to fetch what was in the cart. We'll just use whatever is coming from the shipping data. Change this to zip. Change this to zip. Change this to zip. See where else we use city ID to zip. So city ID has become pervasive in this class. Okay. Almost done. Okay, so we have that. So I wonder why this is loading. So let's just see. For some reason, I haven't been able to get the React dev tools to work. Probably, again, just because my machine is so slow right now. Let's see what we can do here. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Cool, I did it. I gotta pull this down. So I can actually see. Okay, so cart summary. So I can actually look and see what the props are with this, which is super handy. So this is telling me loading shipping and loading tax are true. Why are they true? Ah. So here, I've added this line to see. So the way I determine if tax is loading is if calculate tax is loading, or if the network action isn't done for get postal code. And I won't actually be running the get postal code function in my confirm order, so that's why this is loading forever. So let's just change this to or. This should fix it. Loading tax. Network action is done. Checks to see if the action has started or errored. Is loading doesn't. It just checks to see if the state has a loading value. Okay, cool. So I think that should fix it. Last thing we have to do here is where we use this cart summary to actually tag it with this new prop that we added. So that's in confirm order, cart summary. Yep. And the new prop we added was called use shipping city. So we'll set that to true. Okay, so that looks good. I think that should take care of our problem. Let's find out. So in the meantime, I am going to I'm going to look at the Mocha documentation. Because it's been a while since I've done any kind of framework testing, and I want to make sure I get it right. So I think I use Chai. Mocha and Chai are the two things I use. So I just don't know off the top of my head like all the right syntax. Looks like we're starting to refresh here. Simple, flexible, and fun. Wow, these guys, look at these guys. These guys are a big deal. Wow. I don't know what that means, but okay. So I think, yeah, make a directory called test. Okay. I'm not like always super comfortable when like I think that it's, what's it called? With the little hamster, it's like a little hamster guy. He has glasses. I can't remember what framework that is. Yes, I have been to hamsterdance.com in the past 6 months. Oh, is it Ember? I think maybe it's called Ember. It might be Ember, but one of the frameworks that I've seen before, like, uses some kind of default name for... It is. See? There's a little hamster guy. I think this... And I haven't worked with it for a long time, so I might confuse it with a different one, but I think it uses, like, default file names or default folder names, so the folders or files aren't directly referenced in the code. It's just, like, known that if it's called something like view controller, then it's going to be the controller for view, or page controller, it's the controller for page. And I am not super comfortable with that. I just would rather explicitly reference where different things are. Again, could be wrong on that, but... So the fact that you have to make a directory called test, and that's like the default directory that it gets looked into, not a big fan of that. So, okay. And then I think we use chai. So this This is the truth of how programming works. I don't actually fully know how the framework works. Our code did not work. That's embarrassing. I wonder why. Alright, forget it. Let's just leave that for now. I'm already on this new thing. Okay, so we want mocha and chai. So I think chai... One of these I really like, one of them I do not. I cannot remember which. One of them, like, wraps the object constructor, one does not. I think that should does. And I don't like that. One of them legitimately overrides, not legitimately, but overrides the prototype of each object. Should style accepts or extends each object with a should property to start your chain. First of all, notice that expect requires just a reference to expect function. But it should require the function to be executed. There are some scenarios which will not work right here. Given that error should be nullified, is not a valid statement. It isn't possible to chain a function call from an ES16 to an import statement. Whatever. Man, I wonder what the difference is. I wonder how somebody picks. Should and expect look pretty similar. The only reason... I mean, they talk about should more often, and it makes me think that should is better. I'm going to go with expect. Oh, we're still installing. I'll have to get a Mac with a faster video card. It's a great excuse. I watched a YouTube video where an artist talked about how he prefers to, when he makes a mistake on a line or something, just erase it. So he just draws lots of lines rather than like fixing the problem with the line he originally drew. And I realized that I kind of do the same thing when I type anything. Like if I start typing a word and misspell it slightly, I'll just delete the whole word or delete the whole line and go back and restart. So like when I mistype install and npm install or mistype chai or something, I just delete the whole line and restart. I'm not saying I recommend that, but just an observation, I guess. Okie dokie. Now, I'm not sure if... So it seems like Chai here is talking about using ES 2015. And I think you can configure Mocha to do that too. ES6. If your ES6 says you install, use Mocha require Babel register. Interesting. So there's probably a way to use Mocha with Babel. Oh, this guy's blog looks pretty good. Shout out to James K. Nelson. Oh yeah, this guy looks like he knows what he's doing. Babel core. Configuring Babel, got that right here. Once Babel's installed and configured, that's all that's left. Tell Mocha to use it. What does Mocha say? What does this guy say? Babel preset. Is he anything about Babel register? No. When did he write this? 2015? That's like an eternity ago. Okay, let's just kind of wing it here. Let's set up like the Hello World example from Mocha. Function. It should be good. Function. Assert. Let's see. What does Chai say? Chai says expect require Chai expect. So expect how does expect work? I didn't even look. Expect let's say hi to be a string. All right, let's run it. Should be good. Looks good. So it works, but it doesn't do a whole lot. Vintage cells. It doesn't do a whole lot yet, obviously. So I want to do the Babel thing. I want to do it now. Because if I can't import different modules that I've built, which are all compiled using Babel, then this is basically useless. Let's see what this says. CoffeeScripts, compilers, CoffeeScripts, compilers. Okay, let's just try it. Mocha require. If your ES have extensions on ES, you can install Babel register. npm install save dev Babel register. And what I'm going to actually be doing is making network calls to my backend server. So completely take the front end out of it. I know there's a few front end bugs like the shipping cost and everything, but just completely taking the front end out of it so that I can test to make sure the server works as expected. So as long as you can like decouple those and make sure you can submit an order by using a REST client, then it's just less stress on the front end. if you're confident in the way your server works, then you don't have to worry about like building this great front end UI and then hitting submit and something doesn't go right, and now you have to like deal with that on top of debugging your front end to make sure it can handle errors. It's more painful. Oh, I also like to build. I like to build components, I guess, kind of backwards. So I start from an error state. So like fetch tax, for example. It's a bad example because that one doesn't work right now. But like load initialize checkout, let's say. Whenever I'm developing that, I start by returning a promise that returns an error. So starting from the error state lets me have like a less stressful development time because I know that I've handled all the errors, whatever might happen. So when a bug actually does happen, my front end is ready to handle the errors, and then I handle the loading state, and then I finally handle like the completion state. So it's a slower development time to see the end result because, obviously you could just develop the other way where you do everything assuming everything works great, and then fill the errors back in. But I found that I just forget what some of the errors could be. So I usually build error first and then go to like the correction state. Okie dokie. So I did that thing. Now it wants me to say Mocha require Babel register compilers is only necessary if you need to specify a file extension. Oh wait, like semicolon dash dash compilers is only necessary. I see. It's not very good. It's not very good syntax. Like it looks like semicolon is part of the, okay, cool, so that worked. Let's try an arrow function and see if it freaks out. So this is an arrow function, and the syntax is amazing. Not only is it more concise than the word function, but it binds the this value to whatever is in the enclosing scope. So if I did this, I'm not sure if Mocha actually logs things to the console. See, I get undefined here. That's what this log was, undefined. But the reason is because, now if let's say I said this will be false. I need to add, I'm going to add a, I'm going to go out of distraction free mode so that I can add a, whoa. Add a new configuration. And I'm going to call this one, I guess maybe you can't see this. Mocha. Oh, Mocha's not listed on here. Oh, yeah, it is, Mocha. Node options. Call this test. Okay. So going back to my terminal, someday I will go back to the terminal. You can see here, equal is false. Right, because this in the function refers to the object of the function that we created. for this, should return true. So see here, oh, so I don't have control right now. High, so equal is true and value is high. So it binds the this value. So self equals this. So, I mean, that's the easiest way I can show it to you. Self and this are the same. So let's get rid of this. All right, now for the acid test. Let's see how this fares. Please be good. Shit. Unexpected token import. This is not good. Oh, James K. Nielsen, again, same guy. Someone should write a new blog post about this. So Webpack is what usually handles these import keywords. Not an answer. Not an answer. None of those are answers. Oh, this is a nice chart. This guy likes Mocha too. Boom. I'm with you, man. I'm right there. I don't know if I trust this, but let's give it a whirl. So what he's saying is, let's get these distractions out of here. What he's saying is Mocha compilers, JS, Babel core, register, and it should take care of the rest. I'm still not sure if it gives us the import keyword. I thought that was like a Webpack specific thing. And it does not. Let's get rid of this. I wonder if this is something that we have to build, that we have to compile with Webpack first. I don't think that... Well, let's try running this without. See what this gives us. Okay, so... Oh, nope. So is the Babel... registry even doing anything. Oh, expect is not defined. Ooh, Mocha Webpack. That looks pretty good. So I wish I had like a more exciting thing to stream about today, but like this is just like all I'm gonna be working on, just like figuring this thing out. Which like, isn't as exciting as like hammering it out on the keyboard, but also important. These are essential oils. They help me to focus. If you believe in that kind of thing. I can't like figure out the inversion factor. Wow, you might want to do this module. 29,000 downloads is a lot. Mocha Webpack. Okay, this is what I was thinking about doing. This looks pretty good. I mean, 29,000 is a lot of downloads in 1 month. So let's just give this a whirl. I use the npm. I use save dev because I'm not going to need this in a production environment. So if I'm running this code, like let's say on my Heroku server, which is in a production environment, these modules that are save dev won't install. Since I've tagged them as being used in development only. And in fact, if you look in the package.json, you can see these dev dependencies. So save dev saves these dependencies to here. So they won't actually be installed if you use if you set your node environment variable to production. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so it looks like you say Mocha Webpack, specify the Webpack config, which I have, and then they like this globbing pattern. I don't quite understand. I guess if you could have multiple tests. Oh, I guess maybe people put their tests in a different directory, which is interesting. So maybe what people do is like this would be address input dot test. I've been thinking about doing something like that. I don't know if I'm a big fan of having a directory just for one component though. I'll leave it as test for now. I'll leave everything in the test directory for now. I'm sure that'll evolve over time. While this is loading, stand by. It's done, yay. Okay, so let's give this thing a whirl. I also got some turkey because I was hungry. Okay, let's see what we get here. Mocha Webpack. Is this a global module I have to install? So, fun tip, any binary files that are put in a npm install, like in your node modules, are saved in the node modules.bin directory. So anything you can execute is saved there, which is super helpful. So instead of going to like node modules, Mocha Webpack, and like finding it in here, bin, Mocha Webpack, instead it's just put here, .bin, Mocha Webpack. So it's Mocha Webpack, the config file, config.js, and then go. See what happens. That looks sweet. Ooh, check that out. Let's see if this is actually working. So this just takes longer because Webpack has to compile all these files. Whatever. 0 passing. Maybe, uh-oh. 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 I might just have to call this a failed experiment. Not good. Okay, well, I've been at this for an hour and 15 minutes, and I haven't had much to show anybody, for everybody that's watching. So I think I'm just going to end this here for now, and tomorrow when I come back, I'll have like the Mocha stuff ironed out on how to do it, and hopefully to have the UI for the order confirm step updated. So yeah, I'm kind of going to end on a sad note that I didn't figure this out, but check out that blog post I wrote on why I have no idea how React hot load works, and that's it. So next time, a lot more good stuff, but this time, not so great.